Predictions of the End of the World. This is William Schnell, page 33 in 30 Years a Watchtower Slave. He's entered Magdeburg, Bethel, and is at this point quite enslaved, but not particularly rebellious at this stage in his life as to the success of his operations working within the society in the head office in Germany and the tremendous growth they enjoyed in the late 20s. He's already testified as to the statistics in this period from around 1925 to 1927. Predictions of the end of the world. He says the Watchtower Society has always been marked by a degree of eccentricity. They loved sensationally to predict the dates for the end of the world. They had originally predicted the end of the world for 1914, but in that year many Bible students who believed this prediction were left in the lurch when the kingdom for which they looked failed to appear. This, of course, left a bad taste in the mouth of many. It did not, however, dismay the leaders. During the ensuing years, especially in the pamphlet The Fall of Babylon the Great and in the booklet Millions Now Living Shall Never Die, the Watchtower Society merely switched to 1925. They kept that new date prominently before us and all the people as the year when the kingdom of God would come with the reappearance on earth of the Old Testament worthies or the princes amid Bible students. This expectation was fanned by every publication of the organization of that time, and it left a deep imprint upon our minds. In fact, it virtually made irrational crackpots out of many of us. For example, I well remember that in the fall of 1924, my father offered to buy me a much-needed suit of clothes. I asked him not to do it, since it was only a few months to 1925, and with it would come the kingdom. This now seems utterly ridiculous to me. Even if the kingdom as expected had come, I meanwhile very badly needed new clothes. The Watchtower Society kept fanning this great expectation to a high pitch, in the same manner the Pharisees in the immediate period preceding the Lord's appearance in Israel had done. I am now convinced that they did this not because they believed it, as had the Pharisees done before them, but because they wanted the people to get into the proper frame of mind for an overt act. For even as the Watchtower Society had previously embodied many spiritual ideas in its policy pronouncements, it now used this expectation, so common among Bible students, to create a background of hope, and focused it on a date they hoped to be ready to expand their advertising campaign of the Watchtower Kingdom. However, at that time, some of the more mature among the Bible students began to catch on and to notice the discrepancy in the Society's statements about 1925 being the beginning evidence for the kingdom and the end of the present wicked world, and evidence of the Society's increasing activities of buying land, buildings, ordering printing presses, all making for expansion. The two did not go together. This subhead is A New Nation Conceived in the Watchtower. With the advent of 1925 came the unmasking of the true plan for a world organization as envisaged by the Watchtower Society. Early in that year came also the laying of a doctrinal change. In the Watchtower article Birth of a Nation, the Watchtower Society began to build up its organizational idea. Rightly, it pointed out that Christianity was to be a nation of kings and priests. But after having stated this glorious scriptural truth, the Society went about to subvert this concept, which is the quintessence of Christian individuality, by proclaiming itself as an organization to be that nation, or rather collectively, those organized by them to be this new nation. While Peter conclusively showed that each Christian as an individual would be part of that nation under God and Christ, the Watchtower distorted this concept and interpreted it to refer to a class. In this case, as later doctrinal developments show, they applied this concept to the emerging faithful and wise servant class, to whom all the goods of the kingdom had been entrusted, to be augmented by other classes in the field until the class concept totally eclipsed the individuality aspect of a kingdom of kings and priests, as envisaged for Christianity by Peter, who wrote under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. It would eventually result in the appearance of a huge class called Jonadabs, who laid no claim at all to being spirit begotten. Thus, this new nation, born in 1925 through the effulgence of the Watchtower magazine, was to have as its end composition a faithful and wise servant class, that is, a theocracy of gold, ruling from the top down, as well as a theocratic mass of unspiritual Jonadabs, who have no part in this kingdom or nation, but are absolutely subject to its bidding. Such subjects would not only be enslaved by this new nation to think as did the ruling class, but also to work exactly as commanded. This concept, as we shall see, embedded in the article Birth of a Nation, has been minutely carried out. Thus back there, during the artificially created period of great expectation, when there was a hopeful looking forward to the kingdom and the appearance of the princes, there emerged a new nation within the nations of the world, which eventually, in a universal sense, would become a new world society. This new nation, thus, was conceived in treachery, dedicated to the principle that all men are not equal, but must be classified in classes, and organized for the proposition that all subject to it are theocratic slaves. And it envisaged a slave society to last for 1,000 years. Far-fetched, you say. Watch how it will be proven in this book by incontrovertible facts. Next time, covenant or sacrifice, which? And I'm going to put in a link to what kingdom theocracy are JW's preaching. We did a whole series on this in the very first year of our videos. It was called we now call it the Paradise Playlist. It's 19 videos in all. Here's the first of them. I'll put it on your screen along with the playlist. The Counterfeit Kingdom of the Watchtower. He's very right, and they're still bragging. This book was written, near 70 years ago, so he's very right. Even in the Proclaimer's book and beyond, they're still bragging about the significance of this Birth of the Nation article and how it was a new concept, and the timing of it, of course, 1925, when in bringing forth this new light, of course, they covered over the most recent embarrassment of the society and completely botching the Millions campaign. So I'll put the link to the Counterfeit Kingdom of the Watchtower and that whole playlist, which exposes all of the texts, puts them in context. That is, it puts in all of the Paradise texts that was the new gospel that would completely take over after 1935. What about all those Paradise texts from the Old Testament primarily? How do they really fit in? And when you look at them in context, what do they signify? What do they predict? Is it anything like Rutherford's concept of a paradise earth in which Christians dwell? I think you'll see the contrast. Check out the whole playlist, though, because I think we take up virtually every one of those important texts that the Watchtower habitually uses to paint their picture of the Technicolor paradise earth. See you soon.